For so many of us, after years, maybe decades of working and saving, retirement, it conjures up this really powerful image. Travel, ultimate freedom to explore, right? To finally see all those places you've put on the list. But here's the real challenge, and I think it can feel a little daunting. How do you balance that excitement, that wanderlust with, well, long-term financial sustainability?
That's precisely the crossroads so many retirees find themselves at. And it's exactly why we're doing this deep dive into the sources you've gathered today.
Okay.
Because thoughtful planning, realistic budgeting,
Right.
They aren't just, nice to haves. They are the absolute keys to enjoying a lifetime of enriching travel without putting your financial security at risk.
Right.
And we've pulled out what seem to be the most important nuggets of knowledge from this material to hopefully help you achieve just that.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How travel just consistently seems to top the list for retirees. What is it about this stage of life, according to the sources, that really makes that wanderlust ignite? They mentioned something called the go-go years.
Yeah, the go-go years. What's really insightful there, I think, is that they're talking about that early phase of retirement. When your health, your energy, your mobility, they're typically at their peak.
Makes sense.
So it's not just about having the time, finally. It's about having the ability to take those more ambitious trips, the ones that might need a bit more stamina, like, say, hiking Machu Picchu or navigating really busy international cities.
Right, things that might get harder later.
Exactly. The sources really stress capitalizing on this finite window to avoid that feeling of regret later on when maybe those opportunities just aren't physically possible anymore.
So it's about maximizing those unique chances before they might pass.
Okay.
But beyond just seeing new places, what other benefits do the sources highlight? Why is travel such a priority?
Well, if we look at the bigger picture here, the benefits are actually pretty multifaceted. Travel offers huge social engagement. I mean, think about meeting fellow travelers on tours or cruises or connecting with local cultures. There's also significant mental stimulation. Learning a new skill, diving into history, maybe grappling with a foreign language.
Keeps the mind sharp.
Definitely. And it can be a really powerful way to connect with family, bridging those distances to visit loved ones who might be scattered across the country or even the globe.
That's a big one for many people.
It is. And then, of course, there's just the immense personal fulfillment. Finally checking off those lifelong dreams, whether it's the Great Wall of China or exploring all the national parks. It really paints a picture of the possibilities.
Those benefits are definitely compelling. But let's get real for a second. The elephant in the room for a lot of folks is the money side. How do the sources help us navigate that, unique financial landscape of retirement?
Yeah.
You're often looking at fixed incomes, right? Social Security, maybe a pension, withdrawals from savings. There's no salary coming in to top things up.
Exactly. It makes budgeting this really critical balancing act. You want the dreams, but you have to make the resources last.
So where do you start?
Well, the foundational step, according to the sources, is figuring out your annual travel budget. A common approach they mention is the 4% rule for retirement withdrawals.
Okay, the 4% rule. How does that work in practice?
Let's make it concrete. Say you've got $800,000 saved up for retirement. Okay, 4% of that is $32,000 for the year.
Right.
Now, if your regular living expenses, housing, food, healthcare, come to about, let's say, $24,000, well, that leaves you with $8,000 you could potentially dedicate to travel that year without overspending that planned withdrawal.
Okay, so it gives you a concrete number to work with.
It does. And what's often overlooked, or maybe not stressed enough, is that this rule isn't super rigid. It's based on historical market data designed to help your savings last, 30 years or more. But it's a guideline, a starting point you can adjust based on how the market's doing or your own comfort level with risk.
That brings some welcome clarity to the numbers, definitely. So understanding that baseline, that annual fund for travel, is crucial.
Yes.
And once you have that figure, it really empowers you to think more strategically, like the sources suggest with this idea of front-loading your adventures.
Precisely. Front-loading travel just means you travel more extensively in those first 10 years or so of retirement.
The go-go years again?
Exactly, getting those physically demanding trips or the really far-away ones in early. Then you might scale back a bit as your health or mobility naturally changes over time. It's pretty pragmatic approach.
Okay.
And within that strategy, it's also helpful to differentiate between what the sources call essential travel, like visiting family, going to important events.
Things you feel you have to do.
Right. versus discretionary travel. That's your leisure stuff, the bucket list adventures, the cruises. Understanding this distinction helps you prioritize where the money goes if, maybe, your budget gets a bit tight one year.
Okay, that makes sense. So with our budget clear, the sources then break down different kinds of trips and what they might cost. Let's start with domestic travel.
Sure.
That generally falls into a more moderate cost range, right? Big pluses, no passport needed. Healthcare is usually simpler, fewer currency or language hurdles. We're talking national park road trips, maybe visiting cultural cities like New Orleans or Chicago, exploring historical sites.
Yeah, lots of great options close to home. Then you've got international travel. Costs there can vary wildly, as you'd expect.
Huge range.
But the payoff can be massive in terms of cultural immersion, unique experiences. You just have to remember to factor in things like travel insurance, currency exchange rates, those longer flights, and definitely how your health coverage works when you're outside the U.S.
Key considerations for sure.
And continuing with travel types, cruises are obviously another really popular option. They can actually be quite budget-friendly sometimes if you maybe book way in advance or snag a last-minute deal.
Though the luxury ones can get pricey.
Oh, absolutely. But the advantages are pretty clear. Often you get these all-inclusive packages, minimal packing and unpacking. Just need to remember that shore excursions, they usually cost extra.
Good point. What about longer stays?
Right. Extended stays, or what some people call snowbirding, spending part of the year somewhere warmer, for example. This can potentially lower your per-day costs. It offers a slower pace, maybe deeper immersion in a place.
You might even negotiate rental rates.
You might, especially for longer stays. But you do need to think about things like home security back home while you're gone, accessing healthcare where you are, and transportation needs locally.
And finally, group tours.
Group tours, often mid to high in cost, but they really simplify the planning side of things. Great social opportunities, too, with guided experiences. The main trade-off is usually less flexibility in your day-to-day schedule.
It sounds like it could be a bit of a financial tightrope sometimes.
It can feel that way.
But the payoff in cultural immersion, the sources really emphasize that. So, okay, once you know your travel style, how do we get smarter about saving money? The sources had some really good tips here.
Yeah, practical stuff.
Traveling in the off-season seems huge. Airfare, lodging, tours money, they can be significantly cheaper, like Europe in late spring or early fall. You often get great weather, but fewer crowds.
It's definitely a top tip. And for anyone who's had years of maybe business travel or has been disciplined with credit cards, leveraging those rewards points and loyalty programs can make a real dent in the cost. Don't leave money on the table, basically.
Right, use those points.
Which kind of raises an important question. Is it better to book early or grab something last minute?
Yeah, what did the sources say?
They suggest booking early is generally best if you want to lock in travel during peak season at a decent rate. But those last-minute deals, they can be fantastic for retirees who have the flexibility to just pick up and go on short notice.
So flexibility is key for last-minute savings.
It really is. Also, thinking about alternative accommodations, vacation rentals, maybe through Airbnb or Vrbo, often cheaper than hotels, especially if you're staying for a week or more. And maybe a less common but really effective strategy is house sitting. You can find opportunities online for free lodging in exchange for looking after someone's property or pets.
Interesting. Free lodging.
It's out there. And what's fascinating is how much you can save just by limiting the expensive extras. Those high-end restaurants every night, premium seat upgrades on flights, taking taxis everywhere. It really adds up.
Little things become big things.
Totally. Mixing in picnics, using public transport, enjoying free museums or parks. It stretches your budget considerably. Lets you focus on the experience, not just, the spending.
Okay, shifting gears slightly, but critically important. Health.
Yes, absolutely critical. Healthcare costs must be factored into your travel plans. It's not just about, having coverage for emergencies, but really understanding what your coverage entails.
Right. The sources talk about general travel insurance first. That's good for things like trip cancellations, delays, lost luggage.
Standard stuff, yeah.
Okay.
But the vital piece, especially for international trips, is medical travel insurance.
Why is that so crucial?
Because Medicare, for example, typically does not cover healthcare costs incurred outside the U.S. So for many retirees traveling abroad, this type of insurance is really non-negotiable if you want peace of mind.
That's a huge point. Can't assume you're covered.
Definitely not. And it's also crucial to disclose any pre-existing conditions to your insurer. You don't want any surprises or disputes about coverage if something happens.
Makes sense. be upfront.
In fact, some retirees are really smart about this and combine their travel planning with preventive health care. They schedule checkups before extended trips just to make sure they're fit for the road.
Proactive planning.
Exactly. And all of this, really, it leads to something truly impactful that the sources highlight: crafting a long-term retirement travel plan.
Not just year by year.
Right. Instead of just making decisions annually, having a longer-term vision helps you balance your desires with your resources. It ensures you can actually sustain that travel lifestyle you're dreaming of.
That's a powerful idea. So what does this actually mean for you, the listener? It means, well, building a travel bucket list.
Get it down on paper.
Yeah, write down those destinations, those experiences, then rank them. Think about the physical demands of Hester. Maybe that challenging trek like Machu Picchu comes earlier, for mobility might become an issue. Or perhaps a serene river cruise fits better when you prefer a slower pace.
Consider the cost level too, obviously. And don't forget seasonality. If you dream of seeing the tulips in the Netherlands, you need to plan for the spring, right?
Good point. Timing matters.
And spacing out the Meiji trips, that's key. Maybe alternate those big-ticket travel years with some smaller, closer-to-home excursions. It can make your travel budget last much, much longer.
Stretch it out.
Exactly. And remember to reassess annually. Things change: your health, your finances, even your interests. So review your plan each year and be prepared to adjust it.
It needs to be flexible.
Absolutely. We even have a great case study from the sources that illustrates this really well. Imagine a couple, they retire at 65. They've got $1.2 million in savings and about $50,000 a year combined income from Social Security and pensions. No mortgage.
Okay.
Their plan. They budgeted $15,000 a year for travel in the first 5 years. That allowed for maybe 2 international trips plus multiple U.S. trips annually.
Pretty active start.
Very active. Then, from years 6 to 15, they plan to scale back to about $8,000 a year, mostly domestic travel, maybe an occasional cruise.
Still traveling, but less intensively.
Right. And then, after age 80, they budgeted around $4,000 a year, mainly for visiting family. So what's the result? They successfully front-loaded those big international adventures while they were healthy and energetic.
Got the go-go years in.
They did. And they preserved significant funds for their later life needs by gradually, thoughtfully scaling back their travel spend. It made their dream a sustainable reality.
It's a fantastic example of putting it all together and showing that adaptability you mentioned. And, in today's world, technology plays a huge role in making these plans actually work. The sources list some really useful tools.
Yeah, tech can definitely help.
Things like budget trackers, apps like Mint or YNA are popular for managing money. Flight and hotel alerts, Google Flights, Hopper, they can help you find deals by predicting price changes.
Very handy.
Itinerary apps like TripIt help organize all your bookings in one place. And even simple things like currency and translation tools, XE Currency, Google Translate, make international travel so much smoother.
Definitely remove some of the friction.
So planning is crucial. We've established that. But it's equally important to sidestep some common pitfalls, right? Things that can derail even the best plans.
Oh, absolutely. And it's fascinating how often, according to the sources, retirees overestimate their energy levels. They pack way too many activities into a trip and end up just burnt out.
Less is more sometimes.
It really is. Allowing for rest days is key to actually enjoying the experience, not just rushing through a checklist. Another mistake. Ignoring exchange rates.
The currency fluctuations.
Yeah, they can significantly affect how much things actually cost when you're abroad. So keep an eye on them. Also, don't forget to budget for your ongoing home costs: mortgage, utilities, insurance, maintenance. Those bills keep coming even when you're away.
Easy to overlook when you're focused on the trip budget.
Very easy. And critically, don't neglect your emergency fund. Don't spend every last discretionary dollar on travel. Unexpected things still happen, and you need that financial cushion.
Always need a safety net.
Always. And one last practical tip. Check your passport validity. Seriously. Some countries require your passport to be valid for 6 months beyond your arrival date. If it's not, your trip could be over before it even starts.
Wow, that's a crucial detail. Check those dates.
Definitely.
So, okay, let's try and bring this all together. What does this all mean? I mean, retirement travel, it really can be one of the most rewarding ways to spend your time, your money, offering incredible memories, adventures, so much personal growth.
Absolutely. And the core takeaway, I think, is pretty clear. The key is finding that balance between wanderlust and financial prudence.
Right.
By creating a realistic budget, by prioritizing those dream destinations thoughtfully, and by using these cost-saving strategies intelligently, you really can make travel a sustainable and joyful part of your entire retirement journey.
And maybe here's a final thought for you to chew on, something to mull over. The most successful retiree travelers, they aren't necessarily the wealthiest ones.
That's an interesting point.
They're the ones who plan ahead, who adapt to changes in health, finances, and who truly seem to value the experiences over maybe extravagance.
It's that careful planning that ensures your adventures enrich your life without putting your long-term security at risk. So the question really becomes, what kind of adventure will you be planning for your retirement?